where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest, 40 years in operations leadership, author of transformational books, helping the audience to master success through proven strategies and real world insight, other than Mr. Gene Burke.
Hi, Daniel. Great to be on your show.
Welcome, Mr. Gene. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. I've been in operations management as a manager for nearly 40 years now. I've authored a number of books. They deal with a variety of things from operations leadership to success building habits that are really critical to be able to develop the foundation to be able to be successful across a couple of different platforms. And then also some books on how to integrate into a new work environment, which can be very challenging for people. And again, that's through building, through building a foundation through habits is really critical to be able to become successful in really anything that you do in life.
Mr. Gene Burke, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today let's talk about, well, it's something good and something people will empower. Building strong habits for success. Tell us, Mr. Gene, what it's all about.
Really anything in life, many times people take on goals and they take on aspirations. They want to achieve something. Now, it's really critical to build really strong foundations through positive habits. Often in life, sometimes, and actually in a reverse way, sometimes people want to try something, but they're afraid to because it's overwhelming, because they look at the big picture, right? They look at, oh, I want to be whatever it is. I want to be a business owner. I want to become a manager, or whatever it is. Even from fitness, right? They might want to lose weight. They might want to gain muscle, whatever it might be. So they'll look at a big picture, and sometimes that can become overwhelming because they don't have one. It's overwhelming at times, and two, there's not always a strategy to go about it. So what's really important to do is first pick a goal, whatever the goal might be, and then map out patterns and strategies that you can do to be able to achieve those goals. And through that, by building dedicated, regular patterns, habits, positive habits, you can move more quickly and more efficiently towards whatever goal that might be. And what's really important about it is that when you're building positive habits, it has to be consistent. Consistency is the key. So I'll use bodybuilding as an example, weightlifting as an example. So let's say someone wants to get big biceps, or they want to lift a certain amount of weight. Well, if they go to the gym once a month, or once a week even, that's not really going to do it, because while you may have a consistent pattern of going once a month or once a week, and that is a habit. Consistency means that you need to be doing it on a regular basis in a more condensed way. So let's say, for example, you want to lose 10 pounds. What's really critical to do is start small. If you haven't been working out or exercising or anything, to go to the gym the first day for an hour is probably going to burn you out. And then you're not going to really want to, may not even be able physically to go back the next day. So what's really important is start small. So maybe go to the gym for 10 minutes the first day, but commit a time, commit an hour, whatever it might be, what hour a day may be, depending on your schedule and your lifestyle. And I'm using this as an example. This could be used across the board in any aspect of your life. And then build a pattern and commit yourself that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even this week, I'm going to go and do this. It could be writing a book. It could be reading a book. It could be learning about something at work that you want to be able to, let's say you want to move towards a potential promotion. Um, take it in small bites, build success through the habits, meaning the success of habit building. I know that may sound a little bit odd though, but by committing a time and sticking to it no matter what, over time that will build a pattern within you that it's second nature. And then you could build on those patterns, and you could extend them. You could extend the number of days that you're doing it, the amount of time per day you're doing it. But what's really important is building positive habits and a positive pattern to be able to reach your goals.
Interesting indeed, Mr. Jin. And this philosophy seems to flip the script on the grind culture. Instead of pushing through pain, you're advocating for removing friction. Why is it removal the toleration for sustainable path for this high performance?
Well, difficulty and maybe not pain, but difficulty isn't always a bad thing. But it's measuring it, right? So if you have you, let's say you try something and the effort that you gave on a particular day was simply overwhelming, that may cause you to doubt yourself, right? And that may cause you to rethink even what your goal is. But the goal, let's say the goal is positive, right? And we always want to try to achieve positive goals, and again, whatever that might be. While the overall goal is a really positive thing to reach for, going at it too much at once with too much intensity. Now, for some people that might work, and for some people that does work, but for the vast majority of people that could be overwhelming, and that can shut you down, and that could actually dissuade you from continuing. So it's really important, I think, that people take a look at what they want to do and then actually map out a strategy. You know, some of the most successful people in the world, they don't do things haphazardly. They make a plan, they'll write it out, and they'll follow that plan. Now, what's really interesting and it's really important to understand is, so let's say you're moving towards a particular goal, and it's not really, inching you towards it, or it's not really um, what you're doing as a habit isn't getting you any closer to your goal. What's really important to do is not to quit, but to learn from that, step back, readjust, right, re-examine what you're doing, and try something different. One of the most important things I think is, and I think it's a thing that a lot of people do. I mean, it's just human nature almost in many ways. So they think that if they fail, that's a negative thing. And of course, I don't want to mean to overgeneralize. It can be a negative thing. But if you look at the failure, if you've tried something and you fail to do it, but you learn something from that failure, and you're able to readjust your approach to whatever you were doing that may have caused you to fail. If you learn from that, failure, let's say, it's not a failure, because then you can step back, reevaluate what you're doing, use that failure to put you on a new trajectory. Maybe it's a new pattern. Maybe it's something you need to adjust on. It could be anything really, but I think it's really important to understand that building the habits is critical. Positive habits is critical. Sticking to it through consistency, because consistency builds strength, and then to be able to be flexible enough to and not be down on yourself if you're failing in something, but to step back, readjust, reset yourself, and then with a new focus begin a new path towards the same goal.
Begin a new path for sure. And Mr. Jin, what is the most common fundamental or foundational mistake people make when they try to build a new habit that almost guarantees they'll fail?
That's a great question, and it can be varied. Everyone isn't the same, and every potential goal or habit isn't the same. But I think what happens sometimes, and again, that's why I really think it's very important, especially at the beginning, right, to start small. So don't put so many things on your plate that it becomes overwhelming. So take something small and then build on that success. So you build on that one success, and that helps to allow you to build momentum, positive momentum. So you build on that one success, and then you could expand that. And then over time, you can do multiple things at once. But I think what's really important is, and I think why a lot of people fail is they may try too much too soon. So I think it's good to test the waters, uh, check to see if it's the right path, get feedback, absolutely get feedback. One of the wonderful things about the internet today is there's a worldwide web, obviously worldwide web, of information that's out there that's at your fingertips. There are so many positive role models out there, so many positive people who have gone through difficulties and then achieved great success. So, 50 years ago, that wasn't available. So I think it was more difficult for people to be able to kind of build their own path. But I think there's so much of available information out there. Absolutely don't go it on your own. Or, personally find a mentor. Find someone that you know, that you trust, that's successful, maybe successful in the thing that you're trying to do, and learn from them. Because the greatest, the most very successful people are very happy to help people who are willing to learn and grow. So that's another path you can take, is finding a local mentor or a mentor on, whether it's through the internet, whether it's finding good books to read, whatever it might be. But I think that's why a lot of people can fail, is they take on too much too soon. They become overwhelmed and it kind of shuts them down.
Mr. Jane, beyond sheer willpower, what does the science of neuroplasticity tell us about how long it truly takes for a new neural pathway to become a brain's default?
That's really interesting. That's a great question. I think I'm not sure if the science is completely in on it, but I've read anywhere from, it can take, usually what they say is, if you do something 10, this is a famous axiom in martial arts. If you do a particular technique 10,000 times, you become a master at it, right? Because it could build neural pathways and neural pathways, and then, motor skills with that. But away from that, I think you have to be able to stick through a particular pattern to build those neural pathways. Um, at least it's got to be a few months at least, and sometimes for it to really. And again, I don't have the literature right in front of me, but I think for long-standing building neural pathways, it could take up to a year to do that, and that's why it's really important to stick with it. One of the things that we do is, and again, and this goes both ways. How you think is what you become, right? So you can have really positive thoughts all the time, and over time, and sometimes you have to force it. Force is a hard word, but having positive thoughts, keeping positive things around you, trying to eliminate negativity around you, negative people, negative news, things like that. That can absolutely affect how you think. So I think it's really, really important that, if you want to build a positive mindset, is to surround yourself with positivity, whether that's positive, positive articles you might read, anything that's positive, positive speeches you might hear. There are a lot of motivational speakers, both online and live. So I think it's really, really important. Neuroplasticity works both ways. You can build a very positive mindset, but you could also build a very negative mindset. And I don't know if the science is absolutely locked in how long it takes to build those neural pathways, but they're absolutely there and they're absolutely true.
Interesting, Mr. Jin. Truly, truly empowering answer. What is the critical difference between being motivated and being disciplined? And why is only one of them reliable for long term habit formation?
Yeah, another great question. Motivation is great, but motivation is almost an emotion. Right? It really is kind of an emotion. And emotions can wane. Emotions can, one day you can wake up and be super motivated, and the next day you could wake up and be not motivated at all, do something. And the difference between discipline and motivation is, discipline is you force yourself to do it. And I know that it can be a hard word, but discipline yourself to do it even when you don't want to do it. Because if you stick on the path through building a disciplined pattern and a disciplined mindset, it doesn't matter what your emotional state is. You're gonna dive in and do what you committed to do. So motivation is fantastic. I think it's wonderful. I think without motivation, you don't get anything really off the ground. But once it's off the ground, you need to have true discipline if you want to succeed, to go after that goal, whatever it might be, despite any setbacks. And again, setbacks happen in life. I mean, it's inevitable. It's how you deal with the setback, right? So, having a disciplined mindset to persevere and to push through difficulties, I think in the long term, bodes better for long term success than just motivation.
On the process of overcoming obstacles, Mr. Jin, why is it starting? comically small, often the most powerful strategy for building a habit that lasts? And how do we overcome the feeling that is not enough?
Yeah. Boy, a lot of good questions here tonight. So, I think it's really important. And we all do that. I mean, I do that. So sometimes you're starting something and you don't think you're doing enough, right? You don't think it's enough in what you're trying to accomplish because you're taking it in small bites. But I think what's really important is that to understand that there's that phrase Rome wasn't built in a day, and Milo lifting the calf until it became a full grown bull. I'll use that for an example. So Milo Croton picked up mythology picked up a small calf and literally lifted it every day until it was a full grown bull, right? So it started off really, really small and you could do it easily. And then over time, it became more difficult, but because it was a slow, gradual pattern of continued discipline and application, over time, lifting the full grown bull became, second nature. So I think it's really important. And if you think about it, even small increases on a daily basis or a weekly basis, right? Let's say you improve in something only 1% a week, whatever the goal might be, whatever the task might be, over a year, that's more than a 50% increase of where you were. So it's a positive outcome. And that could be on a daily thing, it could be on a monthly thing. It could, whatever it is. But the timelines don't really matter. It's understanding that small incremental increases in what you're doing in terms of what the outcomes are, positive outcomes, over time can create truly fantastic change.
Truly fantastic indeed. And Mr. Gene, as a 40 years in operation leadership and author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Yeah. So for me personally, I enjoy operations management a great deal. I've truly enjoyed the process of writing these books over time. And I think for me, long-term goal is I really enjoy, especially, younger folks coming into the job market or, even people who are in the job market, especially with managers, because I have such a long operations management, timeline experience. I really enjoy, trying to work with them to be able to help them understand the process, what the process is, to find their full potential. I think for me, long term, that would, is really my dream spot, is because I think so many people have such fantastic potential that they don't tap into, and I think and it's not their fault. I think society as it is today, there's so much pressure, pretty much on everybody, from a variety of different, um, you know, factors coming in. There's negative news all the time. I mean, it's 24/7, and I think what happens is it dampens people's spirit. And I think that people don't often realize that each and every one of us has a lot of potential that we don't tap into. And that's my goal long term. Really, is to try to help folks, especially younger folks coming into the job market or whatever it might be, to really embrace themselves in a positive way, and don't let failures mitigate their aspirations or decrease their wish to achieve more, because everything can be a positive learning experience.
Well, good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success, Mr. Jane. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, I appreciate that. I think the one thing that everyone, I talk to people about this all the time. We are very, very hard on ourselves. Most people, we talk to ourselves internally much harsher than we'll talk to, our friends. And I think it's really important for people to be kind to themselves and give themselves a little bit of breathing room. Often we're very harsh. We think we're, whatever. I mean, the narrative. We're too heavy. We're too slow. People think whatever. There's always a negative narrative going on with so many people, and I think it's really important to step back a little bit if you can when you're doing that. Just remember to be kind to yourself, because you're unique. Everyone in the world is an absolutely unique individual, and that's a gift in itself. So just to be kind to yourselves.
Be kind, people, and give grace to yourself. And Mr. Jin, can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Sorry, say again.
Can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, so actually, one of the books that I read, and it's a different book. It's called Nacon. It's Niakan, and at the moment, I can't believe the author. Actually, Greg Critch wrote it. I'm probably massacring his last name, but it's a philosophy on gratitude, on how to live a grateful life and how to incorporate it into your daily life, and that had a great impact on me.
Indeed. Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Jin. And if you give one piece of recommendation to someone struggling to build a habit for success, what would it be?
Pick a goal. Could be something very small, and actually write it down. I think it's really important to write it down. Write it down, and then make a commitment to stick to that, and set the time. Obviously, everyone has a different lifestyle, different influences. They have kids, they're working, whatever it might be. But set a time that you'll be able to stick to, and then commit to doing it. And then once you do that over time, and you build just the success of keeping that small obligation to yourself, that will build strength and momentum within yourself, and then you can expand upon that.
And before we wrap up our discussion today, Mr. G, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, law 101 and mental health 101, love letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 on fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Jin, ultimately, how does the conscious building of strong habits free up our mental energy for the true creativity and joy?
Yeah, so it does free up. If you build habits, and you build and you have consistency, it kind of it frees up my I don't know how to really say this, but kind of mind traffic. So by building that discipline, and you're not overthinking, particularly, especially if you're working towards a goal, and that can free up you to be able to take on other pursuits, whatever it might be, and it can increase your joy and happiness. Jocko Willink has a great quote that I like, that discipline equals freedom. And I think that's really true, because through a disciplined life, you can open up other avenues that you can find great joy in.
Great joy indeed. And Mr. Jane, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you. Well, once again, I really appreciate being on your show. My books can be found on Amazon by typing in Gene Burke, and they're all there. And I have two websites. And Daniel, thank you very much. You were just posting one of my websites there,
Yes.
Iron Road Leadership. I really appreciate that. And I have a second website called, and that's thirdmonkeycrow.org, and that's more on the martial arts side. But I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. And I hope people, check out my books. I think they'll enjoy them. And thank you.
Yes. So, Mr. Jin, tell us or expound the phrase on your website. Embrace your potential with Iron Road Leadership.
Yeah, so that's my website, and it goes back to what I spoke about before. Iron Road is actually one of the books that I have. It's called The Iron Road, and it's developed. The actual title of the book is "Develop Habits of Success," and that's the concept of the book, and that's the genesis of the website. Because I do think everyone has great potential, and I think that they should embrace it. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be in business. It doesn't have to be something that the world looks at and says, "Oh my gosh, what a wonderful thing." You know, embracing your potential could be very personal that no one else knows about but you. And I think it's really important to be able to do that because I think we all have great gifts within us.
Thank you for that, Mr. Gene. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Gene Burke because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books to come, more and more empowering leader will arise. So, Mr. Gene, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.